I'm going to let Stevenson talk a little bit about from the pastor and worship leader relationship, okay? Let's receive him. Amen.
Grace and peace be unto you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ.
Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ.
It is an honor and privilege of mine to be able to address you this morning from the perspective of the relationship of the pastor and worship leader. First of all, I'd like to give honor to my spiritual father, Bishop Slater. Thank you. And also to the church ministries. All others who are here. Bishop Golphin gave me 10 minutes. I already talk fast, so please bear with me. First of all, the scriptural backgrounds I used was 1 Chronicles 15:14, verses 22 and 27. Those scriptures sort of outline the responsibility for one of the primary worship leaders in the Old Testament by the name of Chananiah. It spoke of what his responsibility and his role was in Old Testament worship, as well as Samuel 16 and 14. Samuel 16 talks about David's selection to come into the temple with Saul to provide him worship there, and then 2 Kings 3 and 15. The role of the worship leader. The worship leader has to also fulfill the chief end of man, which is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. The role of the worship leader is to influence the congregation to worship. Everybody does not come to church on Sunday morning for the purpose of having an awesome worship experience. A lot of us come to church on Sunday morning so that our pastors won't get on the phone and find out where we are. A lot of us come to church on Sunday mornings because that's the civil and upright thing to do to be a good Christian. But a lot of us don't come for the purpose of having a worship experience. What is the worship leader's job description? Well, the worship leader's job description is to lead worship. So that means that there's two aspects of the person. You have to first be a worshiper, and then you've got to be a leader. You can't be a worship leader if you're a leader first and a worshiper second. Your primary responsibility is to worship and then to lead others in worship. How can I encourage and influence you to do something that I'm not a professional at doing? Amen. So I must first be a professional worshiper. What is the difference between a worship leader and a lead singer? An awesome difference. Because a lead singer is a professional singer, not a professional worshiper. A lot of times people get on the stage and get a mic and they sing in a great tune, and it's awesome in the musical score, but did it move anybody? Was there a conviction that was attached to the song? Did their personal experience with God, was it evident when they sung the song? What is the worship leader's responsibility to the pastor and congregation? First is the attitude of servitude. Our responsibility as worship leaders is not to stand in front of you and perform, not stand in front of you and entertain, but to invite you into the presence of God. If that's the case, then I must be able to carry His presence with me. Because we've accepted Jesus on the inside, haven't we? So wherever we are, it shouldn't be an unfamiliar place for me to worship because I carry Him around. My worship is not just something that I turn on and turn off on Sunday mornings, but it's a lifestyle that I've adopted. I worship in my relationships with other people. I worship as I have a conversation with someone and tell them about the goodness of Jesus. So if worship's not on your mind during your week, you're probably not evangelizing well. You're probably not leading many people to Christ. People probably don't even know that you're a Christian. Because if that's the case, how can you worship and cuss at the same time?
Fix your face.
Fix your face. What does that mean? Bishop Slater is known for changing the song selection during the service. He's known for that. That means you got to have your repertoire right. You can't practice on Sunday morning. Because on Sunday morning, people's lives are at stake. So you can't get on the stage trying to figure it out. You got to have it all together. That means that it has to live in your life throughout your week. The song can't just become the song on Sunday morning. It has to become a part of your heart. It got to become a part of your personality. That way, when you listen to the song and a great singer sings a song, is it biblically correct? Does the song agree with what's in your spirit? Does the song agree with what the vision of the house is? Because if my pastor says one thing and the song says another, I don't care how great the song is, I'm out of order. And then I'm leading other people in a direction that's against what the pastor said. You're out of order and you're causing division. Another responsibility of the worship leader to the pastor and congregation is leading. Leading starts in the outer court. What does that mean? You cannot get in the sanctuary and put on your worship face and expect people to hear from you when in the parking lot you got a nasty attitude. I met you at the water fountain and you didn't speak to me, but now when you get on the stage, you holy. So if that's the case, as a worship leader, the pastor has also indicated that you have some sort of authority in the house. Because what? You can't be a worship leader, anything else, unless you've been appointed by a man. You can have all the oil of anointing on your life, but until the man of God has put that responsibility in your hands, you need to sit right there. Yes, so when you come into the house of God, when you walk through the door, you are an indicator of the authority of your pastor. We all are indicators. If you're a leader, you're an indicator of the authority of your pastor. So when you walk in the door, no matter how much you're trying to remember the words of the song, no matter how much you're trying to figure out who all in your department is there or not, you still have to greet other people. You got to show the love of Christ in your life evident before you decide to lead. If you know, like I know, I don't like squeaky clean leaders. How can you lead me out of my situation if you ain't never been in one? So I can't always see your phony face. Sometimes I need to see you going through. But when you stand up in front of me, let me realize that your go-through is not bigger than your God. The ultimate priority is to support the vision of the singing pastor. If you're choosing songs during the week and ain't talking to your pastor, you're going to be out of order. And you know that your vision changes. What does that mean? Your pastor might have been working on love all week, and now this week he's working on commitment. But your repertoire for Sunday morning was based on love. You still following something that's old. So there's a new vision coming across this week, and you can't support it because you ain't had no communication with your pastor. Well, why didn't you communicate? Was it because you was late for rehearsal? Was it because the people came to your rehearsal and you was nasty with somebody so you don't want to have that relationship? What? So now we're going to realize that one of the main reasons why you have conflict is unclear communication. True. When the pastor's trying to lead the congregation somewhere and you stand on the stage and lead them somewhere different, that's a clear indication that you don't have good communication. When you get to your rehearsal, what are you saying to the people in the ministry? What explanation are you giving people as to why the pastor changed the song selection? Oh, he don't know what he doing. You know, we rehearsed all week and now he gonna change. Well, whose voice are you speaking? You trying to cover your people, but you cutting your leader, you're uncovering your leader. Another conflict causer, the absence of a mentoring relationship. A lot of musicians come into churches, and because they're great musicians and the pastor might not have as much music skill, they feel like the pastor can't teach them anything about music. That's not quite the case. Because if you're going to lead in someone else's stead, you need to have their spirit on the inside of you. You need to have some kind of relationship in you. Whereas when I'm going before God, what is it that my leader would like to hear? Why? Because when David came before Saul, he didn't come before Saul with his song. He had to play something that would soothe Saul's spirit. That's right. So when you're when you're setting the atmosphere for worship and praise in the church, and you're supposed to be setting an atmosphere that makes preaching easy, well, you can't make preaching easy if you sing the stuff your pastor don't like. It ain't gonna flow. That's right. Another conflict causes jealousy of others who desire a close relationship. What does that mean? That the congregation can be your conflict. True. A lot of ministers in music are ruined by the people that they minister to. Because a lot of times, if you're a good minister of music, it takes time. You have to set aside time to meet with your pastor, to stay with your pastor, to be around your pastor, to see what your pastor's experiencing. When your pastor goes out to other places to get word, sometimes you need to make yourself available and go, because when he goes to get more word, he's going to go in that direction. But when you do that, other people are going to be jealous because they want to go too. Sometimes it's not for them. So now when you stand up on the stage and you lead other people in worship and they upset because you went out to eat with the pastor and they didn't, now what? Now you got to get them beyond their jealousy to see God. So it can't be about you. All right? Another conflict causes the hireling spirit. What does that mean? If I play because you pay, then where's God? That causes conflict because what happens when the offer is low? And we can't quite give you what we want to. We have the heart to, but we can't quite do it. Are you going to serve this morning?
That's right.
Say it, boy.
Conflict causes.
That's good.
What you get what you ask for. A lot of pastors make the mistake of asking for great musicians to come to their churches. When you ask for a great singer or a great musician, you're not necessarily getting a professional worshiper. So just because your voice sounded good on a CD doesn't mean you can lead us anywhere into His presence. Rather than musicians, I prefer for pastors to ask for minstrels. Why? Because when it's time for the atmosphere of God to be set, we ain't got time for you to be figuring it out. A musician is good at following people's lead and sort of leading them to where they should be musically. But we ain't talking about just being able to lead us musically. We need for you to hear the music of heaven. Up above my head I hear music. Not on the sheet, not in the hymn book. That's good to take us to a place as a good landmark or a good description. But what happens when the song ends? Does the flow continue? You can't do that if you stuck on a song. Singers are psalmists. There's a difference between having a person who can sing a nice song and someone who can sing a song of the Lord.
All right.
I'd rather hear from God than hear from somebody else who wrote a song.
That's right.
That's one of the issues that we have with other people in other religions is that, this great man wrote this book and now I'm going to base my life off of what this man wrote in this book. Well, I can write my own book. Who am I to write my own book? I want to hear from God. That's the worship leader's responsibility. Anybody have any questions? Give me 10 minutes. I'm trying to get into some time. Anybody have any questions at this point? All right. Can I go a little bit further?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. As worship leaders, you have to remember what Lucifer's role was in heaven before the fall. His role was to provide the worship. Well, when you provide the worship, there's things that come with you and issues that come on you. So sometimes it's possible for the people to put you up on a place where you don't belong. Because the worship is so great, the music is so awesome, and now people blow your head up and you become arrogant in that moment.
Come on.
But where's God?
Wow.
Your head can be so big that there's no room for God to be filled in it. Because you all got errors about yourself in your head.
See?
Other things that come on you, look what happened to Lucifer. He had all this control in his hands. He realized that he was responsible for the worship. So now it's not about the king, it's not about God anymore. I have the ability to turn the house. I have the ability to change the atmosphere. If I'm mad with you, I ain't got to get over myself. I can come in here and play mad music. If I'm depressed, I don't have to get over my depression. All y'all gonna be mad when y'all leave. My wife made me upset. I ain't got to get over the situation with my wife. All couples gonna work out today. We're gonna play some angry music and y'all gonna fall out. And if you ain't king, you'll be up shouting and dancing to some stuff in the wrong spirit. So you have to be careful about who you choose to lead your people in worship. You have to be careful about who it is you choose to lead you. Just because a person's up on the stage and singing don't mean you gotta clap. If you realize that your worship leader is being ineffective in leading you into the presence of God, you need to have a communication with your pastor. A lot of times pastors don't take that role because they're afraid of losing people because the music ministry goes down. But what's the important thing? The important thing is that the atmosphere of worship and praise that's conducive for the prophetic flow is in the house. Regardless of if it comes from a little bitty child, if there is no music and you got to play CDs, at least let the atmosphere come into the house. I'd rather for the skill of the music to be diminished than the atmosphere of praise and worship. So what, it ain't as good as it used to be. But as long as the spirit is right, as long as the atmosphere is right, as long as the praise and worship can be pure, you ain't got to sit there and make yourself worship. You ain't got to sit there and make yourself stand up, because the spirit knows the spirit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you know that a person is on the stage giving their all and their heart to God, they ain't got to be the best singer. I don't remember in the Bible that says David was the best singer. But look what he was able to produce because of his relationship with God. When you have Christ on the inside, it brings a certain conviction. You just can't get up and offer God anything. You got to give him your best. You got to know your best, and you're going to push other people to be your best. So when your worship leader asks you to get up, it's not necessarily because he's trying to entertain you. Maybe you need to get beyond yourself. Because there's a different perspective when you're on the stage looking at y'all. When you stand up and you giving out God your best all weekend, and people should expect for the atmosphere to change, and they look like they got cements in their pockets, rocks in their arms and all that kind of stuff. Nobody wants to get with you. Sucking on sour lemons, but they came to a worship service. When you come to a worship service, you should be coming for the service of worship. You think about in the Old Testament when people walked to the temple, to the tabernacle for one time a year. And then you had to stand outside until they let you in. We would get in our car and go home. We get attitudes when the service don't start at 11 o'clock. So where are we at now? God has given us an awesome opportunity to have Christ on the inside. He's given us an awesome opportunity to have a lifestyle of worship. That's what we should do. That's the relationship between the pastor and the worship leader. Thank you for your time.